Okay, this tutorial will cover graphs and tables. So the first thing I need to show you is create a graph from an equation. So if we go up to the math tools and choose the equation editor, I'm able to just type in a standard equation at this point. Switch to my arrow so that I can select it and resize it as needed. And I want to show you two different graphs here. So the first graph is a quadratic. You want to come up to the drop-down menu, select Math Actions, and then Generate Graph. And what this will show you is just a graph as much as it can show. It doesn't really emphasize anything at this point. And usually with quadratics, we would want to probably look at the x and y, or x-intercepts. So if I use the drop and drag function, I can click that and move that around. I can use the zoom in so that I can emphasize those intercepts. I still have all the functions as before. I can turn on and off grids or number lines. And so then that would be for that kind of a function. If I wanted to delete that, I could select this and press the delete key on my keyboard, or I can come up from the drop-down menu and choose delete. It also can do things like the sign function. If we come to the drop-down menu again, Math Actions, and then Generate Graph, it shows a standard sign function. But if I only want to see just one cycle, I can go to the properties to customize this. So first you have to select the graph, go to the drop-down menu, and choose properties. And here's where I'm able to customize my graph a little bit, the scales as well. If I only want to emphasize going by pi and things like that, I'm able to adjust it at this point. Okay, so then that just shows just one cycle, and I can emphasize now the turning points or the amp and things like that. Okay, the next thing is to create a table. So if you go up into the math tools, if you hover over here, it says graph tables. And if you select this, it automatically lets you start right away. So let's say if I want just a few rows here, I am able to click in the cell and type a number. So if I start coming in here and I want to tab to each number. So if I start entering in points, I'm just using the tab key each time. Okay, if I click off the graph, I'm able to see that maybe I don't need these 3 rows here at the end. So if I click and select, so click and drag until I have all the cells highlighted that I don't want, and I notice that a drop-down menu appears. If I click on that drop-down menu, I can either insert or delete rows at this point. So I'm going to go ahead and delete those rows. One thing that you can do is that if you don't like the placement of the table, if you come up here to the gray box, you can click and drag to move it where you need it to be on your screen. You can also have the resize option as well to fit your needs. Next, we have create a scatter plot from a table. So what you want to do is you already have a pre-made table, or maybe students have come up and created the table. You want to be able to click and select it until you get that drop-down menu to appear. So now I have the ability to come up to the drop-down menu, click on Math Actions, and then Generate Graph. And notice that it only creates a scatter plot. So if you're wanting it to just show a scatter plot of a quadratic, it will only show the dots. As of course, you can only use the line of best fit if you're wanting to show the trend. If not, you could always take a pen and come over and connect the dots as well if it was a quadratic or the sine function and things like that. The last one that we have is to create a table from a scatter plot. So this is something where students have come up, they've put all their points on the board, and now you want to be able to show that data in a table so that everyone can get the points and everyone can be able to see things like that. So if you select the graph first, go to the drop-down menu, Math Actions, and this time select Generate Table. And if I want to be able to move this table, I want to select it until I can get that gray box and I can move it up and down, and I can resize it as needed as well. Another option is that we often have to save data from one lesson to another, or we want to be able to compare lessons from the day before. But I don't want to have to redo my entire notebook file from 1 hour to the next. So a helpful feature is to copy and paste these into a Word document that's already opened. So here's a little trick that you have to do. First of all, you have to disconnect the connection. If I click on the graph or the table, notice how they are connected right now with this blue line. I have to disconnect them first. Otherwise, the table will not copy over into Word. Now I can select them, seeing that the connection is gone, and I either can go to one of these menus and click copy, or I can go to the edit menu and click copy, or you can use your quick keys on your computer and hit Control-C. So for this, I'm just going to at least hit copy here. I already have an open Word document, and let's say this is my first hour results. Go up to Edit, Paste Special, and choose Device Independent Bitmap so that you can see the exact picture that you copied. And at this point, you're able to use the crop tool if needed to resize or to adjust the image for cropping. You can click and adjust the size as well. And so this is a quick way to save the results from the class that you were using so that you don't have to undo all the things in your notebook file. And that concludes graphs and tables.